have the restaurant. Just got torn down. So there's obstacles in the way for everything that where timing is. But yes, there needs to be a resource. So just wanted to finish that in. Again, thanks for the great job that you guys took upon yourself. And it's going to be a great resource for this city for the next 4, 8, 7, 12 years, whatever. Congratulations to you. Thank you.
Can I ask one question? When you say resource, like what do you, how would you identify that?
Well, people want to know in certain neighborhoods, how come my road hasn't been paved? How come this park hasn't been finished? How come this?
Right.
And you can't set a definitive ending on all the project that the city takes on.
Right.
But there should be a resource for somebody to call the city and say, hey, look, I thought this was supposed to be done 6 months ago.
Right.
Okay, well, here are the obstacles that we're having for completion. But you can't put a timeline on everything. The two things that I mentioned took way over 2 years, 3 years to complete.
And there's
Because of those obstacles.
there's nobody currently to call and get that answer to what they should.
Sure, you can, but there is no way to confirm that ending. You call Eastern Park, you call Mobility for Roads, you can call Parks and Recreation,
Right.
but there needs to be a better obstacle, where one person could get into the right place and or give you the information to do. Again, thank you.
Anything else you say?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, all right,
Thank you for being here.
thank you so much for being here, you've been here. Riding it out till 9 o'clock with us. Hey, state your name, please. Oh, you got some.
You got this on email earlier today, but I wanna make sure that everybody who misses their emails.
Thank you, I was talking. You love this moment.
I like that off white, that's a nice touch.
Well, I never hand white paper to people. They get lost, white paper on.
It's still fancy.
Good evening, my name's Stephanie Pointer. I sent you the link to the debacle that we had at city council yesterday. And I have been on the budget committee since 2021. And every single year, it takes at least 90 days to get a decent copy of the budget. It's come this year, it's in a 2-inch binder and it's printed at about a 4.5 or a 5 point font. You can't even hardly read it. It's so small that you cannot scan it. And the budget should be handled to council when the mayor makes her speech. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no reason for this game to be played every single year. This year it was, oh, it has to be ADA. No, it doesn't. Not to hand it to city council. They should be able to hand a binder to them. Every single year, city council has to ask them for a paper copy. Or I personally prefer a PDF, but I'll take whatever I can get. Last year's budget, when they handed it to us, it was in a 6-inch binder. This year we got a 2-inch binder that wasn't quite full. The staple copy that you have is about your IT disposition. I know a friend who put all that together for me. It doesn't include the things that never really went to court and never ended in a way that was not black and white. It doesn't include the issues that happened with Councilman Dingfelder, where the city spent $300,000 investigating and nobody ever approved it on council. It does not include the multiple ethics complaints that I filed 4 or 5 years ago, where the mayor announced publicly that she had met with developers and they weren't registered lobbyist meetings. There were several other issues that I filed ethics complaints about that nothing was ever followed up on. Nothing. As a matter of fact, I went to the chair of the ethics commission's house, knocked on her front door and said, "Hello, may I speak with you?" She was really nice and she invited me in. Here I am, a random stranger. I don't know. Like, but then after I'd asked for months and months on end when the ethics commission was gonna meet again, and I got crickets. I show up at this lady's house, I get certified mail from the city telling me I can't do that. I don't know about y'all, but I know I can go anywhere I want, anytime I want. And if that lady didn't want me there, she could have told me to leave, but she didn't. She invited me in and gave me iced tea and talked to me for 45 minutes. So please understand that the stuff that went on yesterday, if you haven't had a chance to watch it, you should. Anytime that people are putting numbers on 4 or 5 or 6 different pages and reading it out loud. You know, 6, 8, 10-digit numbers. Something shady is going on. These people are accountants, people who love numbers, put them together, they don't spread them out. And there's something shady going on. And you know what, the question you have to ask yourself is, do you think it's ethical or unethical? And if you're not gonna do anything about it, what does that make you?
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Seefer, there's not somebody central to the city who can answer those questions about every project. It's impossible.
Oh, I'll probably be waving my hands trying not to talk in the middle of your meeting.
State your name.
Blew out my knee. Alton Hewitt, alternate CR member and community advocate. As y'all have been having your conversations, especially about the inspector general. It's challenging sometimes for me to see, because I am in the community and I am in public comments all the time. And to be able to see the administration be able to use its power to get good people to be scared to run and people who are in the office to have to leave office. I mean, they use the power of the purse for the administration where you have everyday people running for office. So they don't have $200,000-300,000 to hire someone. You have an example, of the council aide matter. You had a council aide who had a problem with the council. They went to HR counseled them. They went to HR and said, thank you, council meeting has been addressed. But then the administration went to that aide and said, no, you've got to pursue this. And so they pursued it. They went to the ethics commission in Tallahassee, no findings. They had a law firm investigate it, they being administration. But then they say when they investigated, turned over to another law firm that we're hiring, and they didn't do the response. So 2 different lawyers, $100,000, after the young lady on the record to an email to John Bennett said, thank you, this has been handled. But if you speak out and don't do what the administration says you're gonna do, they will make your life hell. And that's not just the elected officials, because again, they have the power of the purse. The one that Bobby has been trying to provide to you is someone who is independent. Someone who is just, they've been told to just do what's right, just find the information, not for political, not because we're scared because the mayor's gonna write my check, or we're gonna get funding from the city council. I'm asking you to pay attention to what happened today. Today is not the first. I have been at CRA meetings that have workshops where they've done $60 million worth of workshop projects to do the grants. But the CRA did not get the information until they walked into the workshop. When the public raised their hand, they said it'd be ready in 5 days. So the public could not even weigh in on the grants in their community. And when you go online, it wasn't there. But there's nothing to make the administration do their job. Unless maybe someone files a complaint and we can get some facts into the record that they're not. So I thank you for having the conversation, but I ask you to understand that this is not just looking at financial contracts and use of money. This is also the use of your political power to keep the community not listened to. Thank you. Yeah, I did it with your.
Yes.
Alright, thank you all so much for your public comments. Anybody else with public comment? No? Okay, thank you so much, and so we're gonna move forward with to approve the prior meeting minutes from July 28th, 2026. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Move. Second.
Alright, we'll probably second. Second.
Yeah, I need to spell wrong, that.
What page?
Two. What's this? Hold it.
That should win the name.
I'm getting, you're right, people are spelling me MARROW all the time. All right, thank you so much for the amendment, so we would like to move to, approve the six with the adjustment
As amended.
as amended, all of those in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Right, motion carries.
So we're pretty sure this is our last meeting. That's the plan. I think we can do it. Our agenda is pretty standard under charter review. We're gonna really zero in two areas. Looking at the final language for the hearing officer, but the majority of the time evaluating what can pull together for the IG, and then some next steps that we usually talk about, that might be the real next steps. And an outline I promised you for a factual report about the committee. I give you an update about my conversation with the chair on that. Let me do it first. So the first one should be fairly quick. We Ken had, if you remember, compiled some prescriptive hearing officer language. But in exchange with Stephen refined that language. I pulled up the actual section if you want to cover that before going to the IGP. So I'm just gonna sit here and try for you. Again. It's a little bit more, but I just want to work with you.
Yeah, the only part that changed, just going back to your motion when you adopted this section. You asked that the appointment process mirror that of the planning commission. Stephen pointed out to me, the only difference in the language is that removes then the mayor from the appointing process. So that's the only update that's happened over the last time that you can see in green is that. Everything else is the same,
There's a bigger vote.
yeah, that. That is a or more hearing officers appointed by majority of city council for renewable terms. So we have that as appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. But is there something to?
What prompted the change?
Stephen asked me to go back and take a look at your vote. Your vote was to amend the prior language to reflect the process that the city presently uses for appointees to the planning commission. This is the process that is used for planning commission. So I wanted to make sure that was what you intended.
So I'm gonna put it out there that I did not understand. I thought that, I did not understand that city council only had appointment power to the planning commission. I thought that the mayor did as well. And I'm embarrassed by the fact that I didn't track that after 7 years, but I guess that happens. The city council is the one who hears the zonings. I think, you know, so I'm not saying I'm necessarily deeply troubled by that, but would we not, would the city not then need to do a contract with the zoning hearing officer that then would go to? I'm now befuddling myself by how, if a contract had to come, contracts have to be negotiated by the administration. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to overcomplicate this, I'm trying to make it clear.
Yeah, in terms of process, if you go this route, it would be an application process like is done for other boards and councils. The city secretary would pay someone, and then there would have to be then a contract entered into them for this, consistent with that.
All right, I'm getting my head back in. This was the interim level of the zoning process, okay?
Right.
Which you point out that person works with city council. Wouldn't that
might be the appropriate body to appoint who they're working with.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
don't think that it troubles me that city council would be the entity of zoning, officers.
right?
I'm just then trying to, I feel like then. Somehow they need to get paid. And I guess that's the part that I'm still struggling to wrap my head around, but maybe.
I look to you and Stephen for
Maybe
that.
I'm overly complicating it.
Right. This change doesn't.
Yes.
Right, doesn't change that part of the process, it simply, before it was appointed by the mayor and confirmed by council. Did not match up to your vote, so this
Well,
was,
because we should do it like.
You said do it like the mayor.
Does have a mayor,
Right.
So when this formally did, I thought you said a moment ago, this said the mayor appointed.
it did,
It did, she did, but city council approved it, so city council was involved in the process, they have to approve it, okay. Now, this change eliminates mayor.
Does the planning commission get paid?
No.
So, therein lies the struggle.
well, I don't think this changes the fact that this person will get paid, that's gonna have to be worked out. The
Right.
key is that, do you want this as the mayor bringing something forward to council, that was the prior draft? Or was the intent to be wrote, as documented?
I did not know, but I assume that the mayor was involved in the selection of the planning commission, I did not know.
I did hear.
It's, we say planning commission, why confusing, this was a zoning hearing master,
Correct,
it's not a planning commission.
right, you're.
But we said, Bill, they're saying that it was inferred that we said, we agreed that it would be done the same way they did the planning commission, which some of us assumed that the mayor was involved in that process. It turns out the mayor is not involved in that process.
Okay, so the question is,
Yeah.
was the mayor involved in this process?
Correct.
I was a little slow at the wheel.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the language as written, because. And my rationale for that is. City council has the purview of zoning. And the mayor does not, and I feel that. This makes a lot of, this tracks with that. So I don't have a problem with it, so.
I agree with that, but also I'm having trouble with the zoning hearing master shall be licensed to practice law with demonstrated experience in land use. But it also says, shall not concurrently represent any party before the city in land use matters. How do you balance experience with someone not having any communications or clients that could come before them?
So you make a choice.
Yeah.
If you're going to put yourself up for a zoning hearing master as a land use attorney. You
For free?
No,
You get paid for this job.
you're gonna get paid to be a zoning
You
hearing
get paid
master,
for this.
not much. Not much. But for example, you can still practice in front of Hillsborough County, and some land use attorneys do a lot of work in both. Some focus mostly in the city, some focus mostly in the county, some focus more broadly in other jurisdictions. I think that you would still be able to find qualified people who would be willing to serve as zoning hearing officers and agree not to do business with the city of Tampa if that was their interest. And frankly, a lot of people, as they're getting on in their practice, look to do hearing officer work rather than strictly representing people and working them.
People that sell, people that retire, you get. No, I know someone, a friend of mine retired from Hill Ward, John Brandon. I mean, it's not that I'm not suggesting he wants to do this, but he's would be a perfect candidate.
Yeah.
He'd say, I retired from the active practice, this would be I'd still be able to keep my hands in the game, so to speak, be on the other side of the desk, so.
Shall not concurrently represent, but that person could have represented the applicant for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden is in a position, right, to approve something with a past client they might have a multi-decade relationship with. That's
That's gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah, it can happen in the county, it can happen, yeah, that's
And
always.
again, if it's a lawyer with demonstrated experience in land use, inevitably that
That market.
situation would occur.
But you want someone with, you know, a level of experience. Sure. That's why we all sat around and spent a lot of time focused on the position, is let's streamline it with someone who's got the talents to do just that.
Did you want to say anything wrong with order of this motion? So Rebecca had a motion, Bobby seconded it, but if the chair can complete the process.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Was the second name? Okay, Karen and Ron. Okay, so. Passes. Okay.
Motion passes.
You guys kept saying zoning hearing, but it only says officer beside the decision that was made, just a moment. Does it matter?
It does say officer throughout. It's been a nomenclature change over time to use officer instead of.
By this group?
State.
Okay, sure, thank you.
You wanna go up to the start? Yeah, that.
We just drive and nobody goes, so we're moving on now to the revisions based on specific feedback 2 weeks ago from the group. That came along very.
Let me walk you through, hopefully everyone's had a chance to take a look at this. What I tried to do is take everything that came up during the last meeting and pull this into a draft that seemed as easy for a majority of folks were heading. Obviously, this is my interpretation of where you were all going, because a little bit, everybody had an opinion. We'll just scroll over the first change here. Thank you. Took out the word oversight. There seemed to be a lot of concern about the idea that this person was either to be a tool of the council or otherwise run amok. So I tried to narrow the scope here of what it is they're supposed to be doing. This was, I think, Bobby, you had this edit as far as transparent and accountable. Powers is the biggest change right here. In response to your concerns about how the office would operate, I came up with language here that they shall only initiate a process when something is referred to them, as opposed to they wake up one morning and decide I'm going to go look at this department or that department. The idea is that anyone, that mayor, council, staff member, or resident can submit a written request, and they'd have the discretion then to decide whether or not to move forward with the investigation. Your number of you had concerns about subpoenas, so I limited that to subpoena to require the appearance of elected officials, staff members, or contractors. Is taking out the general public from that concern. And since there was concern about phones and records along those lines, I shifted it from a wide subpoena for records to making public records requests under Florida law. Trying to find a compromise as far as that goes. You can see the language that then dropped out as a result. They still have then the power to file ethics complaints, put matters out, etc. All right, it appeared we settled on 8 members. Last time, the change was from the Hillsborough County Bar Association to the George Edgecombe Bar Association. And then adding in the public defender.
Ken, for the group, I did speak to the chief judge and was honored with the opportunity to serve, and the same with the state attorney. It's not very good. Those two. That issue that was, great idea.
Can you scroll back up just to look at the other ones? Just the appointment for the committee.
One thing I would point out too is. If the goal is not to make this a political weapon. There are. At least 3 or 4 people of those 8 that are currently Republicans or former Republican. You run a real possibility that you could get somebody who's appointed as the IG with the sole purpose of being aggressive toward the mayor and all of city council.
Say that again?
The state attorney, who I Republicans, if you're a friend, I have a tremendous respect. Is a Republican. President versus South Florida holds from the vote for the governor, he's a Republican. I don't know, you know, in the future, who the president of the bar association is gonna be, but they could be the chief judge. Like was appointed by a Republican. So I'm just pointing out to people that if someone chooses to weaponize this position as an internal weapon at the city, we run the risk that we're appointing someone who's got authority to investigate the city, and majority of the people are not city people who are making that vote. I'm not saying that that's it's not a possibility.
We're never gonna know what their political affiliation is going to be 2 years from now, 4 years from now, or 8. We're never gonna know the political affiliation with any of these people. And I think it's absolutely awful to start to try to guess what that political affiliation, with all due
I
respect.
don't think it's awful because it's what's happening in the government today.
If I could finish, okay? So right now, you know, I don't mayor or designate, okay, I'm not sure what her political affiliation is, chair of city council, know what his is, chief, but don't know president. So as you look at this, remember, the mayor, right, and city council have to approve the appointment. That's in this proposal, so if there's someone, this group of 8, and you can add to the list, you want 9, I can. Someone suggested to me that you put the dean of the Stetson Law School, I mean, this is something I got in, you know, that's a great idea. You can have a former federal, I mean, there's a lot of different options there, if you wanted to add a 9, and an equal balance, you can have one more on. But again, I think the check and balance is going to always be the mayor and the city council, both have to approve the appointment recommendation when they kick it back down. So if there's a toxic individual comment, but, you know, my 2 cents.
I still get confused on how this is different than the ethics commission. Like, are there functions that we're trying to have done that aren't being done by other entities? That we could give them new assignment of responsibilities since they already exist? I mean, I really don't, where I get lost is that I looked at this afternoon again, and I still don't see, this is like, either it's completely redundant to the internal audit and the ethics, or it's parallel systems where you're gonna have all these people looking at the same thing and creating lots of duplicate efforts, and I don't think there's clarity of responsibility and authority. It's my concern.
Responding to Ron's concerns, we do something in terms of the panel. As is done at the federal level with the FTC and the other, you know, federal commissions that we require a number of Republicans sometimes.
How could you possibly do that if you're appointing positions? You would never be able to. In other words, if you memorialize it here, these 9 offices, that's what you have to people. And then what are you going to say? What if on the list there's 70 Democrats and 1 Republican? You have to go out and say, well, we need to find 4 more. With all due respect, the offices, you just, you can't micromanage that. I mean, you may as well just put up there, we'll have 4 Republicans, 4 Democrats, and an independent. And then you have what? You have to just search for candidates that come in, you can't do it.
You could eliminate the 8 people and just have it be at the city council, the mayor. I mean, city business is not.
No, that would be, respectfully, we're trying, one of the genesis, we spent a lot of time talking about was that this was truly independent. Okay?
You just said it's not, you just said it's always gonna be subject to the mayor and council, right?
Their approval, but again, if they reject someone, the next one up comes, what we discussed at great lengths, the next person up has to come from this group of 9.
So the risk I statement is real or it's not real. Can't be told.
I don't even understand what you just said.
What I said is that the risk of there being undue influence from outsiders from the city is either real because it is, or it's not because the mayor and city council control it.
Obviously,
I was just gonna have pretty quick, refresh us on the vote we made last meeting regarding the equipment, because some of this is set in stone, some of it's not. I think what's set in stone is of the positions. Mayor has a designee, chair has a designee, and the rest of it.
The rest were all agreed upon, other than we changed George, that's what we added, and I was asked to
No,
call
we
the
took
state attorney.
we took a specific vote on who was on that list. Cause I know. Yeah, someone could reflect it. Bobby, I think we were in agreement that we just want political influence. Right, correct. And I think that was regarding the first two people. But where are we at on the vote? Cause there's some things we could change and there's some things we can't.
You're referring to the motion, the motion you took?
What is set in stone on that list? We've already made a vote. Maybe we could pull up the record.
Yeah, we should
The
put it right there.
vote was made for 2 of those 8 positions. So I believe we can just establish that and let them continue to move on. About who's gonna be on
It's
this.
either in there or I took notes to try to blow that look, actually what you guys wanted to see changed, I'm sure.
It's irrelevant now, right, to see where we
I
voted.
thought we voted on all of you, you're correct, if we voted, we should see exactly what we voted upon, my recollection.
Yeah, I don't
Those
say
8
it twice, I wanna do the same.
I think conversation.
No, I agree.
I feel like the score is for you,
I think we
the,
losing end of
yes,
what.
it was 4-5.
I don't know if recall if we voted on it or just the Georgia.
I think you're taking, yeah, kind of polls.
I remember the discussion and the sentiment and the group, but I'm pretty sure I voted on that spot.
Yeah, then we had another vote after that, but,
You all agree on Cortez, on Cortez.
I don't
Well, we could have also said, we want all this in the new version to then look at more closely,
Well,
but.
I think it was specific to the mayor's appointee council.
And we agreed to that.
Last meeting? Or the meeting before?
I think
That's what
Last-
yeah, that's correct, and I think
We, right, we agreed to them, there was a debate as to whether a mayoral representative and a city council representative. And that was voted on, and it was voted, I think, 5-4. That was correct, they do have representation as it's a city position.
yes.
And then we would have the other 6 non-mayoral, the other, yes.
So we talked about, Projecto, I'm sorry.
And the reason I bring it up is it's been talked about tonight. About the influence of the mayor, and I don't want to rehash.
It's already voted on, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, so we took strong votes last time.
yeah, we took all straws.
It wasn't a vote.
It's a straw vote.
We
We
disapproved.
were trying to give Ken a burn down list to go come back
I'm
to.
just saying, since last time I thought about that issue, I didn't think about it at our last meeting and just raising it as an issue for make sure everybody's thinking.
so whether a is majority Republican or majority, or whatever, cause like you say, we're probably all different party relations, but we're not in here talking about it, but you're saying they can influence the selection of this IG?
These people are not necessarily even citizens of the city of Tampa.
Okay.
And we've all, I don't wanna say anything in public meeting, it's too political, but each party has attacked the other party in a variety of ways. And there's been a lot of push and pull between local governments and state governments across the state. And as I reflected and read the amendments again, it just dawned upon me that this could be a tool that's used against our elected officials in the city. If we're allowing people who are not outside the city to make that. I know many of the people who currently hold these positions, there's 3 people in the Plus the competent, but we're not doing this for tomorrow, we're doing this for Charlotte City for a long time.
Does this
So I think-
appoint the position?
Yes, so-
Yes, the mayor has
Selection.
So it's a recommendation.
Bobby, and I wanna,
And for
I'm
you.
gonna go all the way back to Ron with what you suggest to counter that, because. That's where we have to go, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of things. It's a sad statement on where we are in our politics. If this thought even comes to the table and we see it all the time, and I think your cynicism. Could be partly justified, which is the atmosphere that we have in our country right now. But for me, it comes down to the bottom line that we had to have somebody to pick someone. And if it's gonna be anybody, it has to be people who are in a position of high credibility in a related field, and like, who else are you gonna, just practically, like, who else could you pick? And the seat may be there consistently, but the people who come in and out change, their party might change, and you mentioned risk. And I think it's a miscalculation of the severity of the risk to say that this poses that much of a threat that we have to reconsider what we have here. I mean, there's risk everywhere. Like, I could walk out into the street and, an asteroid could fall on me or something like that, but I don't consider that a risk because it's very inconsequential, the chances that will happen are small. I hear what you're saying, and I feel where you're coming from, but I think we have to be practical too and say, like, just simply, who else are we gonna have here?
You consider the risk that somebody from the state would try to remove a local elected official. First, our current mayor had a threat posed against her on that. Maybe out of the meeting, call Andrew Warren and get his thoughts on it, but it's not a risk that's as remote as getting hit by maybe walking in the street. I mean,
Just being hyperbolic, but
And it's a risk of, and I mean, I'm not in politics, it's a risk of somebody that's in their meeting and they're having a conversation about this person. Risk that they may leak the person's name, it's a risk that they may they may take money and vote a certain way, like what are you saying this risk is?
the risk is that an inspector general is the only person we have to serve as inspector general that's proper by the 8 individuals is someone who's being selected to target the city as opposed to help the city.
so
Very well.
So they have-
It sets up group.
But then who committed the offense, shouldn't have did the offense, so they are the ones that are putting the city in danger.
We're talking about appointing the inspector general, so there's no offense yet, there's just a hiring of the inspector.
The inspector general only pursues complaints that have come to them.
if I may, if we take that argument a step further, then there would be no function of government at all. Like, if you say that. In positions like this, that, or in any committee or, election process, that there is some risk of political tampering. Then take that to the next step, then we can't trust anything that happens in a government. If we say that the Democrats are gonna do this and don't trust the Republicans, like, we kind of just to have things work. Draw the line somewhere.
Yeah.
Davis,
What I was gonna say is, correct me if I'm wrong, what we're setting up here is the eventual person who has this position is voted on by both the city council and the mayor, correct? So the city council and the mayor can vote whether or not the nominee is fair or qualified position.
So the ethics commission, so this is what someone said. The ethics commission president is the amendment requires the appointment will be now be made as follows by the president of the County Bar Association. Another 2 appointments from either a former federal judge, U.S. magistrate, or former state court judge. Former U.S. attorney, former assistant U.S. attorney, former state attorney, in the list of former assistant county attorney, former city attorney, dean of the Stetson Law School, president of the University of South Florida, and the mayor has an appointment. That's the ethics commission. I like our list better.
Can we look at the motion?
I want to do a scroll poll really quick to see if this says that we want to pursue it or not.
What's this that you're talking about? This,
Well, there are two. I guess the question is how many people feel, even if there's a risk, how many people feel comfortable that this is a good solution for nominating, putting forward an IG that again goes before.
I want you to take them first look.
Right, so because I don't know the other option that you mentioned, is having this group not be involved, but right now, this is what we're doing, so the question is, do we want this or not?
And the only thing to consider, I would suggest, if you did want a 9, I did like on this list, and it's local here, and it would be the dean of the Stetson Law School. I don't happen to know who it is, but I think that could be a good one.
Tell me that.
That would be not.
If not this list, conceivably, what would be an alternative list you would think of suggesting?
If it was me, I would just let the mayor and city council.
Similar to
They
our
are
tonight.
answerable to the citizens of the city of
Okay.
Tampa. And
Because
it
I
takes it out from being, I know the intention This will make it less applicable, but instant is by introducing all these other things in one.
I'll love to make a motion. So I'll move to include positions, so that this can be a two-part motion, so that I can vote against the chair and the council if someone else wishes to include them. Because I don't want to vote for that. So I'll motion that we include seats for 3 through 8 with the addition of Stetson for the final position.
I'll second that motion. No, I don't wanna,
And then if someone else wants to move mayor,
I'm gonna move the mayor.
then I'll vote against that.
Wait,
Forgot that, that's not giving the same reference.
why don't we just vote with the
It belongs in
mayor?
the list. Honestly, want the list.
Can't we just vote include the mayor and the city council, because that's what's gonna pass?
Why do you not, you don't want the mayor or the city council involved in this?
No, not on such.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay, then Bobby, if that would be your entire list, then I cannot support your motion, I'm gonna withdraw my second.
It's just gonna be cool.
Somebody else can make a motion to include it.
I make a motion to include the list 1 through 8, I would add a 9, which would be the dean of the Stetson Law School, or his or her designee for it, the other
Bobby.
9.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, how do you feel about keeping the list as is, having a mayoral and a council appointee, but removing the appointment process, so there's no secondary layer of politics added into it? Or vice versa, which I think I suggested that last meeting.
You're saying take out.
So if you sort
What's
of,
it's done, it's approved.
right,
Can we follow, can we do, before the next item?
Get the 9 done.
So let's do, because we may or may not need to revisit.
Yeah, so let me restate my motion. Listen, I move that we included in our list, a group that will be appointing in some capacity, either to the mayor or the city council. The list 1 through 8. I would add a 9th, which would be the dean of the Stetson Law School. That person appeared on the ethics commission list, and I think that would be a good portion. Those 9.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, so moving properly seconded, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Don't say nay.
Amen.
Okay.
I think I was the only one that voted for.
So. We can add, this, I
So-
feel like the mayor. That's what we're in here, and we're appointed by the council and the mayor. The mayor and the council aren't sitting in here making this decision, so I'm just feeling like this is something that needs to be. Just kind of hands off with politics, because if either one is getting investigated or whatever, I would just like for there to be no involvement. Whether it's the council being investigated or somebody on the mayor's.
But that, by the way, that's what I guess was a straw vote, whether it was just a 5-4 straw vote, because you did lose that vote last week, 2 weeks ago, you know that now.
It's okay, it's okay.
Okay.
It's
So just going back, I'd like to understand where the nays came from, so we can move forward. I think we know where you're from. Your vote against.
basically the same reason as Bobby, I don't want unnecessary political influence on what is supposed to be a very independent office of inspector general.
So you're not talking about city council and mayor approving, you're just talking about this list.
That's all I'm talking about is this list.
Yeah, just this list.
I'm talking about both, but yes,
Okay.
included in both is the list, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Ron,
I also don't want it to be both.
We all agree with that.
Same.
I don't know.
So
I still think there's functions that the IG does that could be assigned somewhere in the administration. That we're creating, that's what we've done with the process. I don't. She doesn't have to buy into everything else.
go ahead, Rebecca, we're gonna get out of here.
Okay.
Before we get-
Same.
Okay. So Ken, are we, is the question whether or not we even have an appointment committee? Is that on the table? Is that
What's
the
on that?
next straw poll on even having one? If we have a yes, then we can decide who's on, if we have a no, we can strike. Well. If we do a straw poll, who wants a committee for selection?
What is the problem with having a representative of the mayor and the city council on the selection committee? They can't unilaterally carry anything, but it does give the legislative and executive branch buy-in.
I totally agree, and I equate it to this board, it operates in a similar way. If we all can come together and select someone who could be the inspector general, I think we can find a good person. My bigger problem is the additional layer of appointment and confirmation by politics of the city council and the administration, which is why I said earlier, I think I'm okay with the list if you remove that appointment process.
So I need to get a test for the room, that's where it's gonna be here.
So I feel like. With politics, there's power and retaliation or blackballing that can come into play if you do not go with whoever. This person's, the mayor or the council's appointee does not want, whatever they want, if other people, like the person from USF, the person from this and that doesn't want this person to be the ID, that can be seen as an attack. And I feel like retaliation could happen
Against the.
Okay, so.
against that person that didn't vote.
So I think we should, I just control the room here, guys, for a second. Guys, can we,
Contracts.
can I ask a question? So I think we have two questions on the table, right? They're separate but related. One is, do we want a selection committee or not? Related is, do we need another step for that person to occupy that role? Which Sarah has expressed concern with, which is the mayor and the city council essentially appointing and confirming. So I want to go back to this question. Do we believe we should have a selection committee at all? Show of hands for yes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Stephen, I can't see you, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, 6. So we've agreed we want a selection committee. Let me ask the second question, show of hands. How many people believe that the selection committee's choice is binding and that there's not another approval by mayor and city council? So they select and the job is appointed. Does anyone support removing city council and the mayor from the process of ultimately ratifying the choice? Anyone approve that? That's what you would like to do, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, just 1, 2.
Yeah.
And Stephen, you're on that?
Yes.
So remove that. So we have 3 in favor of removing city council and the mayor from the approval process completely. But we did agree we want to have a selection committee. We've gotten that far, at least, correct? Am I missing anything on its face? Okay, so then the next question is, since that's the case, as people change their votes, we will have a selection committee. So the next question is, what changes need to be made for us to agree the roles of those who will serve on it?
I just feel like all of us, none of the positions should be able to affect any of the other positions. As far as I know, some people may not live in the city, but there's contracts, there's things that, that move around. People get blackballed and retaliation happens every day, so I'm just saying.
Correct.
That is a super valid point. Looking at this list. The only person that I see that may come before the mayor or city council for something would be USF. And the way that the state statute deals with USF, local government has we do have an agreement with them, but we have very little authority or power to do anything with that agreement. So, well, your point is well taken. I think looking at the list that's up there, I don't think that any of these people would hesitate to speak their mind and do their things based upon any sort of power or authority that the mayor or city council have that I can think of. I completely respect y'all's want to make this as apolitical as possible, and we all share that goal. I have another concern, which is having people who don't, two concerns. why I think both the mayor and the chair should be on the committee and why I think that they should be fully appointed. First of all, when you are coming up with a list of people who have qualifications, when you have people who don't understand what local government does, and all due respect to these people, they are all bright and they're all ethical. I don't know any of those people who have sat in those positions over the period of time that I can think of that I would not say those two things out. But they don't understand local law. Very few people do, and you don't have someone at that table to kind of pay that voice. I have concern. And then two, Alan's point to me, and I don't agree with a lot of the things on the list this person could do, so it's hard for me to have this conversation, but that being said, the things that are on the list for them to do, if you're not going to have the mayor and our city council buy into this person at all, they don't even get to appoint them, then they're literally wasting taxpayer money because they're not going to take their suggestions.
What do you think about just sending it up to city council with this group saying, we want a selection committee, but it's up to the city attorney, the administration, council to have that conversation after we pushed it off to council? Meaning we won't be the ones tonight to decide who's on that list, but we agree there should be a list.
No,
And then I think actually there is merit to that, if that's what it gets down to. Only other thing I want to point out is when it comes again to the federal system, inspectors general. They are done by appointment by the president with the Senate confirmation. Or appointment directly by the agency head, and frankly, I never hear complaints about the work that comes out of the federal system of inspectors general. It does not get political. Maybe with the exception of the current occupant of the White House. But that is an aberration. The media. He knows always a risk. There are people who serve as inspector generals in federal agencies who are there from administration to administration, Democrat or Republican. So I to reemphasize the point, having participation by the city council and the mayor in terms of the selection process could get their buy-in. We're doing a big thing here. And we need to do our best to address legitimate concerns or fears in terms of the status quo. I have no problem doing that or doing what Garrett suggests in terms of making this outline and asking the city council and the mayor to participate.
Ashley and then Bill.
So let's say hypothetically, 5 years from now, the chair is getting sued, or the mayor is getting sued. They're sitting on this committee to select this person that's about to investigate them. Right?
No, I think,
But these people aren't getting investigated.
no, I think, I could be wrong, and everybody correct me. I think what you're, the scenario you're projecting is that the IG will get picked once there's a complaint. I think the way this works is that IG gets picked and hired, and then they're there, and then the complaint can come up a year later, or 2 years, but it's still the state chosen. So I don't think someone who this. It's not impossible, but it would be somebody who has a complaint filed against them. And then we're picking an inspector general to investigate that complaint. It would be the opposite. The inspector general gets picked in the abstract, and then complaints can come in.
Right, so scenario is now I am investigating a person that put me in this position, right? And so inspector generals can be professional, but people are human. And I just feel like if you have somebody in a position that's investigating somebody, even though that person hired them or brought them on, it just, the entities that they're going to be investigating, I don't think they should have a hand in picking that person, that's all I'm saying.
There could be a system of recusal. I mean, if you got to the point and we don't, you make a hire today, you don't know who they're gonna be investigating for 2 or 3 years. If it turns out we get to that point and there's a conflict, there should be a system of recusal.
Okay, then I'll be okay with that.
There were a couple of hints, Bobby and Bill.
So we took a straw poll that we want to keep a list, a selection committee of some sort. So I think the pragmatic next step is, if. You know, we have to move this forward somehow, there's a lot of other things in here that we have to talk about that are pretty substantial, and this is like the least substantial thing that we have to discuss in this.
Right, so we agreed we needed a
We need a
list.
list.
When
Do
Bill
we
wanted to have the 9, that fell on us, it didn't work out, that didn't go through. So now it's a question of who's on the panel, so. Can we just go quickly around, and again, if you don't agree with the panel at all, I'm saying, but we're moving the direction of agreeing we should have this group. Can we quickly get opinions on who should be on this list, so we know where we stand real quick, Bobby?
I think everybody would want to, plus adds Stetson.
Garrett? Okay.
I know that, so.
Ashley,
I'm everybody that wanted to, yes, that's.
okay, Kathleen,
I really think we're creating redundant government, but if we're gonna have, if there's a majority vote to have a group, I think it should include the mayor and the council.
so the full, and the.
And just a number two, you should have the number 2 on these things, you should have.
Becker. So the full 9, as they stand, okay. Bill, I think you're full 9. Alan? Stephen, if you didn't hear or ask any opinions about who should be on this nominated list of people 30 minutes ago, can you tell us your preference? Are you there, Stephen? Thank you.
Can you clarify the question?
Yes, so we're looking at the screen and we're showing eight roles, positions of people who would serve on this nominating committee. And we also added a 9th, which was the Stetson Law, what was that for role, president? Or the dean of Stetson Law School. And we're asking everyone, of the 9, which ones would you prefer remain or be removed? The opposite. All 9 or a subset?
I'm fine with those shown. Plus the addition that was added.
Okay. Seems to me like that has the floor, so can we do a repeat motion for what we just straw poll to move things forward?
You got it. Yeah.
Move that the appointment list be put on the board. You add to it the dean of Stetson Law School, so there would be the odd numbers kind of pointed out there.
Thank you. All of those in favor, say aye.
Thank you, just a second.
Oh, sorry, yeah, and second.
Yeah, now, was I going to say this before?
Okay, second, I guess the board properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Nay.
Stevens vote.
Stephen, was that a yes vote for you based on your earlier point?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So Stephen's a yes. Can we show of hands for the yeses, just so that we can collect that? Stephen, Alan, Bill. Garrett.
That's 6.
The thing, but if there is going to be, that's what I would support.
That's all we're voting on right now.
I know, but I
Yeah,
would
it's
support
the
it.
big, you're missing the M.
So do we need a motion to even have a nominating committee for?
No, we didn't. You
Right.
have that, and you've got 6 votes, so those 6 people need to get 5 votes. And move forward. That's how city council said we're supposed to move forward, so that's how we should move forward.
So we're at what, 4?
I thought I just counted 6, but we did the
Can
straw.
we do it again? No, not in the straw, we did it in the straw. We had 6 in the straw, then.
There's a motion.
Now we gotta go back and drop.
Our point, my point is my original point that I raised. There's functions in IT does that we should be aware in city government. I'm very supportive of that. I'm not necessarily supportive of creating an IPD as a separate entity with an oversight that is almost identical to the ethics commission. So I think we're creating a redundant
Okay.
entity. So if you go to the core of the premise or the corpus, or I'm not a lawyer, but if you go back, I'm against what we're doing. But if we were gonna vote on this, I said if I would support, I think the mayor and the city council should be involved in this.
Yeah, and I also, exactly what she said, and every time I try and take a vote to move something forward. Even though I don't agree with it, and so Bill, don't get mad at me, yeah, and everyone's like, we have 7 votes, I'm like. I mean, only under duress, because I don't support the whole thing, and everyone's like, well, we've already decided that, so, and so. I'm not going to vote for it because. I don't agree with a whole bunch of other things in here. And I'm sorry, Bill, I'm not trying to be, yeah, you're a little annoyed at me, I can tell, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult, but I don't know, every time I do that, it's front of my face that we all supported it.
Yeah. Understood.
I do think we have 5, correct? Rebecca, Kathleen, and Ron were a no.
I think the issue, Rob, might be,
Oh, you were.
it's fine to take a straw vote on something on like what the composition of a committee is, but it's hard to take a vote on it when we haven't figured out the rest of it yet, right? Like, we're literally voting to create a committee or something that we haven't created yet. But it might be good to straw vote those things to get us there and.
Yeah.
Try to vote on it.
I guess I was thinking the premise is this group definitely said it wanted something in the charter to cover an IG's function. So that had been voted on already, so I thought it was. You know, even though some didn't vote for it, now that we're at this position where this has been voted to move forward.
A function is very different than a person.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not thinking that, I'm just, right. The function, right, the function of an IG. Group said we want that, we want something, most of us, not everyone said that. So once we move beyond that, then the question is, what can we live with? And again, I guess you don't have to vote for anything, but if we're gonna move forward, we have to get to some answer on what it actually is, and what gets put forward as a recommendation.
Kate Kathleen's point, I don't mean to speak for her, is that I think there are some people in the room who are in favor of creating the office of Inspector General, and there's some people who are in favor of creating Inspector General type functions in pre-existing positions, and there are some people who don't want to do either.
But and that, I think we did discuss, which led to Ken going away and doing this. Based on this group's vote, as opposed to the alternatives that you mentioned, Ron, so just following your lead on this. Not judging the objection by any stretch, just trying to get us to. To actual content that can be included in what we recommend, so. We definitely said we wanted to move forward with an IG function. And I guess we're just trying to accommodate what everyone here wanted and what Ken pulled together. Would it be helpful if he completed the review and then we circle back, since we're really talking about broader issues than these?
I feel like we're stuck right here, and maybe if we resolve some of the other issues.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's do that. It's a good point, because we're in the middle of a bigger sort of issue, so. I'll let Ken do that.
I'll have a look.
Yeah, you know what I mean, I can tell you that now. I don't know if I was.
Hopefully everybody likes me, we'll see. The group was concerned that this, whatever this committee may be, was gonna meet too often, so I shifted it for your recommendation from every 6 months to 12 months. The removal, you wanted to have that, it could be done by either group, so it was originally just by the mayor with approval of the council, now it's by either the mayor can remove with approval of the council, or the city council can do it with the consent of the mayor. It's reciprocal as to who could start the process. For vacancy, we didn't like the get hit by a bus to have a temporary replacement option, so that was taken out here. Should a vacancy occur, it triggers then the process of the committee meeting and all, but there's no one in the spot during that time period. We get the ordinance piece later, I just moved that later on, so struck out the language of the. As far as interaction with the audit department, this was in this prior section, I just moved it to its own piece. That it does not supplant or otherwise replace the audit department that is under the mayor. The ordinance piece was significantly limited. It only covers now qualifications of the Inspector General, the term of the office, budget and staffing, and whistleblower protections for the report to the office. Dealing with the concern that the city council would rewrite this whole provision of the ordinance. Implementation section is the same.
I can't remember, what does the green say, qualifications required of?
Right, the reason to put this in the ordinance, this is the qualifications, Inspector General, the term of office, budget and staffing, and whistleblower protections. Because you put the option of farming this out to an outside group. Or having this as a staff person. That's gonna have to be settled later on by council through ordinance and the normal process.
You scroll back up to that 12 part, I'm trying to. So. This person is retention, I think it was. This person is investigating the city or is in the middle of an investigation, right? And then they have to get on a call, a Zoom, or a meeting, if you will, whatever, with. This mayor and the chair or the appointee about them investigating their. Like they're gonna get to ask them about, they're gonna be taking a performance review from them. Like, they're not gonna like it, like, I'm not. Well, y'all know what I'm, do y'all understand what I'm saying?
I do understand.
Like,
But inspector generals, I mean, I know this from the state perspective, so when I was chief of staff, we had one inspector general, we had one of each agency. I never knew what the inspector general was inspecting, because it was all anonymous, it's all comes into them. They have full authority to do full investigations, use any sort of. Resources that they need across the state, I mean, there are some authorities that come with an inspector general like definition. And I think that protects like the mayor or the city council is not gonna know if they're under review until there's a report that's given to whomever, I don't know where these, they reported at that time to the governor and the legislature.
so let's say their review is about to come up next month. And they've been investigating these people behind the scenes, and this report comes out on the news, and now you're about to evaluate me. Because I just did an investigation.
But only one person on both groups, and so that, if it was just those two people, I think that that's a more valid concern, and it's not that it's not a valid concern.
But you're saying that they don't have enough
It's
power
still-
to remove
it's still-
them.
Yeah, it's
What
what
they
they
don't know.
at that point, and if you're under investigation, you're like, I think they're doing a bad job. I'm pretty sure that the state attorney and those other people are gonna be like. Yeah, I mean,
In 250 years of the history of our country, only one person in America has fired all these people and sort of doesn't really give a shit, but everybody else would not fire somebody in the course of like their job, cause an inspector general doing your job is really a protected investigation. I mean, they're supposed to be, and it's supposed to be anonymous, and secret, and they have authorities under that title. I mean, that's what I understood at the state level. I mean, I never knew what the inspector general was doing till they issued the report, ever.
Okay, but it can be removed by the mayor.
I just have a vote, it have to be a majority of those 9.
Yeah, nine.
Yeah.
If we ended up.
It says it can be removed, inspector general may be removed either by the mayor. With the approval of city council, at least 5 affirmative votes, so.
The concept of this review by the committee was to keep them engaged in what they were. The person they had put forward and provide a public forum, that would be a public meeting. I just talk about what they've been doing that. It is not a job evaluation, they don't hire or fire, they don't have that authority. But it's a way of having a regular session where you can check in on what the inspector general is up to.
Okay, so if they're investigating someone on the body on the city council, that's already set a vote, vote this person out, right?
Right now, it takes both the mayor and
Okay.
council in order to.
I think the removal, actually raises a good point, the removal should have to be at a majority of the 9 that did the appointment.
The appointment as you have it drafted right now is simply a recommendation that then goes to mayor, who makes the appointment to council, who then confirms it. There's not a hiring and firing rule, it's a recommendation. If this group does not like the inspector general, they can put and make all the noise they want about that, and it's the mayor and council then.
They remove.
The mayor and council remove.
Okay.
This group is purely as a vetting and advisory council.
It's probably not totally dissimilar. I don't know what the ethics commission does now. They got a similar role that the group plays for that, you know?
Now, the ethics can take orders and motions and things like that. This group is even higher level, that it's a public forum.
Those people who were concerned about low sizing of this board, do you have any concerns about the fact that the budget and the staffing of the office is determined solely to city council?
In response to that, other cities have come up with, I guess, nonpartisan ways to fund an office like this at a municipal level. So it might be like 0.02% of contracts and like a fee.
Miami
It goes into, they do that.
partially. And I'll be honest with you, I was unable to fully wrap my head around what the rest of the funding, how the rest of the funding comes. Because my understanding that's just a portion of the funding. And that's also an office of
Yeah, some sense of
Yeah.
people.
I think it's
No, the
Miami region.
Miami-Dade.
Yeah.
City of Miami has a $2 million budget, like 12 people. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about that we haven't talked about yet. And not to like start throwing in things, but I can't believe that we haven't talked about what the vision is for the size of the office and you know, what this budget is going to be, because you have a lot of difference, and certainly Jacksonville and Miami. I'm the one who always says you can't use those examples because they're so different, and I stand by that. Miami is proportionally in population size just so completely different than the 40 Gappers and the 8 million, 9 million, somewhere in there dollars is not relevant. The city of Jacksonville, population wise is also bigger, Jacksonville people, whatever it is up there. The city of Miami is $2 million. They just started theirs a couple of years ago, and they are at like, I'm sorry, my numbers are going to be 440 and we're like 413, so not directly correlated, but somewhat similar. And I think I bring that up because that's an awful lot of money when we already have an audit department. And if there's issues with how those audits are going, and people keep saying they don't go to city council, when the direct language says city council by a supermajority vote can ask for them pursuant to ordinance, so pursuant to ordinance, they could do a lot of things about getting those audits. And if you really think that they want to have more direct authority over the audits, it seems a much more cost-effective way to go back to that section with the team that we already are paying for, and having that audit. They don't answer to the mayor, like they somewhat answer to the mayor's allowed to directly ask for them because they're auditing her departments and is the one for the department, so she should know what's going on in her department. That makes sense, and that's the thing, that's just fact. But I don't disagree that city council shouldn't have, I'm not saying city council is having audits, but they certainly should not. And if, you know, they want audits, I'm totally supportive of city council having more ability to ask for those audits. I'm not supportive of a $2 million department, and one person can't do all the things that we said in one section, so it's not gonna be a one person office. And I just don't understand why we are so set on having this big expense in the charter, so it can't be changed when we can make smaller tweaks with what we have. I am never gonna be against transparency. I'm never gonna be against, you know, balance and checks and balance. And if there's aren't enough checks that city council has right now, they said they're doing an investigation. I don't want to get into the merits of it, but like, so they can't do those investigations. And if we want to give them more ability to do that, I'm all for that. But for a fully staffed office with benefits for the rest of the time, when so much of this is already in there, I don't understand. I don't understand. And I feel so conflicted on this because it sounds to me in my head, it's like, I'm not for corruption. I'm not for, you know, covering things up. I'm not for transparency. I am. And I hate not supporting this because it sounds terrible in my head. And I know it's coming from such a good place. We all want this transparency we all want checks and balances. I want a strong city council. I don't want a city council who rolls over to everything that the mayor does. They don't right now. But maybe they feel that they don't have enough tools, and I feel like we talked about this for like 6 months and everyone's like, oh yeah, they have the tools, and now all of a sudden, they don't have the tools and we'll have to spend all this money in perpetuity, and I'm struggling. And I don't wanna get into those just holding up the wall, but that's the thing.
3 quick points, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we decided not to micromanage the budget for this and leave it up to the city council to figure out the budget for this. Number 2, asking for an audit is not the same thing as being able to get it. You're asking, you know, I don't know if city council is turned down at any point after a request for an audit. And number 2, I don't want to take resources away from the administration in terms of sharing their auditors. And the type of audits that are done are not necessarily the same kinds of work that an inspector general would do.
Robert.
I think Rebecca, your points are very well articulated and with me at least well taken. I personally feel that it's an unfunded mandate. We have that in the budget currently. I believe that the people are the ultimate arbiter, and our city council, our mayor, who are elected by the people, are answerable to the people. If they're messing up, they're not gonna get reelected. I think we would be better poised to not create this position and to clarify, as the chair said to us when he was in front of us, clarify that the city council, through its investigative authority, has the ability to appropriate funds to investigate, because that was the issue. And Keandra spoke to the chair today as to, and he suggested that. I think what it does is it allows, and look, we all know sitting here, there's a check and a balance between the mayor and council. Whoever created our city government, forms the city government a long time ago, they're gonna be watchdogs against each other. But mayor has auditors already, city council has the ability to investigate matters. The rub that the chair told us he had was not being able to fund those things. And then again, I know we're down a direction if I'm the sole vote on something, so be it, I respect it, that's. I'll respect the decision of the group. But I think it would be, I think it has a better chance of getting approved by city council and getting on the ballot. If we don't create the unfunded mandate position. And we just go back to that provision and say, not only do they have the ability exactly as it is to investigate, but they can appropriate funds from time to time as necessary to undertake those investigations or exercise their authority in that regard.
So I feel like we've come full circle in conversation very much like this when you decided you wanted an IG function. Any counterpoints to that by other, I thought that was the majority who wanted to move forward with some IG function. That was the marching order we came in here today to try to manifest in language in the charter. So unless that gets reversed, I want to give people who support this concept of an independent ID a chance to remind us why we want it, so that we can make some progress on its actual.
I hear what you're saying. I just did facts. There is already a department, HR department within the city. Or what we call it? Human resource department. Yeah. There's already a HR department in the city. Facts, people have gone to the HR department. Fact, retaliation, or there's fear to even speak up. The public have spoken up and said that that's happened to them. Yep. It's been said, so we have the ability to do something about it. So I just feel like, I'm thinking it or not. If this is something that can help those people, have some reprieve, because I'm pretty sure that's only a fraction of people that have some type of infraction against them have actually spoken up. So I just really feel like there should be I feel like there should be something in place for somebody that they can go to and they not fear that their job be in trouble, that they cannot support their family and they have to endure foolishness. Whether it's misogyny, whether it's sexual harassment, whether it's a whole bunch of other things, especially women that have to go through in corporate America. Like, it really is an issue, and if you've never experienced it, you have had blessed life. But if you've been in that space with people over you, you have no choice, you can't go to anybody. I think this is really important to be percolated.
I don't think you should have to justify that position. This board for multiple meetings has already made itself clear, and we have voted to establish this onus. I think to go back and make us justify our position when we've already justified it multiple meetings, we're here to talk about the merits of the language.
I agree that you guys should not have to justify it, but can I just respond to Ashley just quickly? Thank you. That is the part that I agree with. I don't agree with the duplication of audits. The Miami-Dade has audits for the city council, auditors for the mayor, and auditors for the IT. I mean, to me, that's insane. I don't agree with duplicating the audits. I don't agree with duplicating, going in and doing a professional review of how everything is operating in general, because I believe that that's the job of the mayor, and I believe that they do that every time anyone comes in. What you're saying, I agree with. I agree that something could be done better for that particular thing. And we can narrow it, you make it my support, but with the broad one, you don't, and I'm not gonna keep trying to.
In the office,
And take it.
So.
Like, dead horse.
Yes. I think the question is for those who just in principle support that up language updates from you or input. I don't even know if we get that far. I know Rebecca has concerns, wants to make it part of what's there and adjust some things. Kathleen's just talked about the idea of it being duplicative and also expensive. Ron has issues. I believe everyone else wants this.
Steve and I are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we said we wanted to request the city council put inspector, general services or, defined skill sets within the office of the clerk or something that's somewhat independent from the mayor and whatever, that gets selected or recommended by these 9 people. I mean, I'm all for that sort of direction, but I just don't, there's some of this in here that is where there's duplication. I just don't think I think you've expanded an inspector general role.
Right, let's go Bobby and then Bill, and then see where we stand on actually seeing if we can get to language we can live with. Just a brief, so.
Just would like to echo Garrett's statement. I think we voted on having this here, and
You voted on a function or a person?
so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
We respectfully, I value everybody's input here, and there's merit to what you're discussing. It's just, I think, different perspective.
I agree with that.
And where we're at right now, I think is have something in front of us. We voted to have this here now. Let's talk about it. What we have.
And we wanted it to reflect our preferences, and that's what Ken has done since last meeting. Granted, some people have reservations about the concept, but.
I recall we voted, whether it was 5-4, 6-3. Concept of position. Then what we did is we all raised concerns, very good concerns. And Ken went through, if you look at the red line, he tried to take into account everyone's concerns. He may not have succeeded. It sounds like he may not have, but I thought he did. Okay, and I looked at it, it was a bit of a watered down version than what we had initially looked at. I read it, I said, okay, it still was acceptable to me. Now, if there is some language that would get my fellow, I'd rather see this 9-0, 8-1 or 7-2, right? And if there's some language we can find here, because I suspect there's 5 people sitting in this room that would vote for something along these lines. I suspect our chair, Garrett, Bobby, myself, and Alan are gonna vote for this, okay? I can see it, okay? And so this is gonna get there, but I do think it important, because Bobby said it, the things you're saying are very important. And so if we can look at the language, I'm a big believer, and let's, take a little bit of time and go through that. And I would like to hear from the 3 of you is, if you could, embrace the concept, this is gonna happen, but what language could be put in here that would make it more palatable and.
Yeah, what's wrong? I know the audit, where's the audit part in here that you're?
Can I just pause it? Stephen had his hand up. Stephen, I apologize. I had you minimize so we could see the screen. You might have had that up for the last 20 minutes. I have no idea. Can you go ahead, Stephen? I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. And no, I just put it up a few seconds ago. But I did just, want to point out there have been a lot of really great comments and perspectives. I did want to point out that fundamentally this is about functional independence. So while there do perhaps appear to be aspects of this that seem duplicative, I think they're not duplicative because they're not functionally independent. The only aspect, I guess, of the current state that I view as, I guess you could say, an unfunded mandate is the fact that there is an internal audit department required by the charter today. That's the only aspect that's currently required. So I would be fine with removing that as a required element of the charter, provided that this version or a similar version could move forward. To me, the functional independence is the most important thing that will ensure that there's continuous faith in good government. And that's just my position. Thanks.
Bill's
Thank you, David.
suggestion to do it, but my instinct is if you got 5 people who want to proceed with it, and anybody else is welcome to comment. We got an hour and a half. I would not try to get the other people on board. I would just try to get those 5 people in agreement, because as far as I can see, we've got 5 people that are in agreement. We still have to get those 5 people to something, but and I'm happy to get.
This is our last issue, though, buddy. We can work on this. This is the last issue. We can work on it. We got some time.
Is that correct? Is this the last thing we're doing as a group?
Essentially, yes. It's the last charter change. Obviously, I want to talk tonight a little bit about your thoughts on how the package is submit. I want to show you an outline for the factual report. This was literally the last item, and I was going your way without disrespecting anyone's opinion, because I felt like if there are significant enough objections, the rest of the group could get us there. But to your point, Bill, which is a good one, it'd be better if we could get some of your thoughts embedded. But you're right, we have a limited window. And the train right now is heading to another meeting if we continue, which is not a pejorative statement, it's just a fact. So I'm okay doing that, but with respect to those different opinions.
Maybe just to kind of change up the vibe.
Good saying.
I've been told I have a great voice.
Oh, well. We'll say that the after party. Go ahead.
Here we go.
All right, low ball, DEF. Everyone, can we get 5 on that? 5 people think that that's okay, DEF?
Let me see if so I'm gonna move the screen, would that help? Can I give it a favor?
Where's this unbelievable?
It's just, there's a link that I sent if I email, and it's what can we say?
I would vote for that, Bob. You voted for it. ENF.
Did you say that was a statement?
We're doing 10.
The removal part, is that like that some those people, the mayor and the 7?
Be what you like. The last the original version that is done, the mayor was with the council. The group asked that it would be either way.
Okay, and that's how it's written in another
That's
city?
linked to the same screen.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
I don't know how you guys think that's independent. I mean, you know, for those of you that are supportive of setting this up. I think they should have an appointing body and a removal body, and then you wanna have the mayor and the city council be on that, but that makes it. Very political. In my opinion.
I'm just gonna go ahead and move it. I move to accept language in DEF.
Second.
The moving properly seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We do hands.
Yeah, that would help, too, so we do answer ayes, right?
Stephen, you have to ask Stephen.
Stephen,
Stephen, can you say yes or put your big hand up? Okay, so we have 5 yeses to DEF, 6, thank you.
So what?
now I see why I'm in your financial, because now.
Just have 3, just improve putting on the ballot 3 random.
Well, we gotta start getting somewhere.
We're trying
I
to
know
get away.
there's, now we have to get to.
Then we have to vote on it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But now.
You have to vote on it all at the end.
We want to. Last.
I don't know, but we're stuck. We gotta like start thinking a little bit, you know?
Oh, no.
The rules are close.
Do you want, Bob, you wanna grab GH and I and see if we can do these are the last ones, right? Oh, there's one more.
I'll move G and H.
Are we just gonna do little pieces?
Well, I mean, we're working with the subcommittee, so we gotta kind of do subcommittee bite sizes.
Do you wanna do all the rest of them then, or not? Or you just wanna go 2 at a time?
We gotta go somewhere, we gotta move forward somehow.
We go back, we didn't have any discussion about that last one, I didn't say discussion, can we have discussion?
Yes.
Let's have discussion, real quick. I feel like we went from this space of we don't want this to be political, you can have person, the people that can that can remove this person. Everybody's political in that situation. So I don't agree with that. Because this committee that's the one that's actually like monitoring their progress and what they're doing throughout this process. They're the ones actually paying attention to what they're doing, I guess, and they're monitoring, like giving them reviews of how they've been doing, and then you have the city council and the mayor. Voting, so some type of reporting has to come back to them, I guess.
The difference is currently the administration has control over a lot of the employees in the city, all of them really. Whereas this would be both the council and the administration would both have to decide to remove somebody. The mayor could not unilaterally take this person out.
But the council can,
It's bi-directional.
but I feel like they're a bigger unit, like if they say.
Let's pull the language back up.
Yeah, they both have to agree.
Yeah.
The mayor's office and the city council's, that way no one does it control, right? That's the check and balance.
City council can cut their budget. So.
Just make sure it's removed, city council.
I mean, I don't think the removal is so much of a problem as the budget, because it's the same thing, you can. Get rid of the budget.
I guess we have that after, so, we letting perfect be the enemy of good.
Does that change your vote though?
No.
No.
Yeah, but we are going for it, I just need to hear what y'all's reasoning was for it. I just. I really kept it on that, so like we're trying to, I'm so done with politicians being in the process of this IG at all, because they are investigating. So, I don't know.
So I think we.
Really investigate.
See that as a
Or the administration or the staff or.
So that is, I think we.
It's very general, just be reviewing performance of a contract or something, but I mean, we're talking about this as it's like an inquisition body who's gonna be. And I mean, we could go back to Kevin, I don't think 5 people have approved the scope of what the inspector general's gonna do yet, but. I don't think you guys are talking about the inspector general being like a target to go after elected officials, it's a function like an auditor who's gonna review performance and make a report on it.
Only if, again,
Only if somebody
complaints
raises
are brought.
concern.
Correct. They're not on witch hunts, they are going to receive complaints, and if they do, then they take action.
And the
We're on the road, we haven't proved that.
Bobby, do you want to continue with trying to move some of these pieces forward, like we have?
Those two.
Yeah, it's up to you, what you wish to do, I'm just scrolling to show everyone what's
You say
what follows.
G&H are moved.
Second,
It's been moved and properly seconded, all those in favor say aye.
We can go in.
Answer aye, that's Stephen, Bill, Garrett, Alan, are you in favor? Ally,
Yeah, make a comment about I think it's a bit restrictive. Just as an example, if we decide to go with a contract employee. And then. Or a firm. And then a firm or a contract. Individual is selected by the committee, like, I feel like there needs to be some language on. On how that works out and that ordinance like. It's just, I'll just be plain, it's unusual that you would have. Language in the charter restricting. The ordinance by which you would implement. That section of the charter.
someone raised a good concern 2 weeks ago. Instance, that didn't want. Someone for city council coming in and rewriting everything. Supposed to be done by this position, so that was the concern about it.
I recall.
And. Yeah, you have any other ideas? I mean, what say you?
Strike it.
Strike what?
We had language in the first draft. That was
What did they have? Well,
further regulation by ordinance.
It's all in the original.
Else. Somebody want to move this, here we go, and then maybe. Probably worth a change.
What does this mean to you? Why do you have a problem with it?
from my highway.
That thing? Why do you like this one over the other one?
It kind of binds the hands of how this is implemented, and just as a broader. Observation. As it's written now, this is I would say, based on what I've looked at, one of the most restrictive. IG language of anywhere in the state, it's passed how it is like this, in my opinion, it's barely an IG, it's more just like a reporting channel, the way it's written right now.
I'm saying in general or specific.
It's just in general, the way that all of this comes together in this form.
Function within the city of Tampa's process of governance without an ordinance and some budget. I mean, if you do away with that, how do you function? How do you even be effective?
I'll clarify, I think there needs to be ordinances, but I think having language in the charter. That restricts what those ordinances can say. Being repetitive, but it's overly restrictive. If you look at any other charter or in the state, where there's a county or a city that has an IG. There's pretty thorough language in ordinance for how that's supposed to work, the guardrails, processes, the limitation, all those, the nitty gritty. Typically, what I've seen, the charter language is pretty short, and then it's all fleshed out into an ordinance, but we've added quite a bit in our. Charter draft here.
I mean, the vast majority of the ones across the state are not strong merit forms. They're strong council forms of government who have an IG to watch over the administration who's supposed to be implementing their policy. Now, the big exceptions are obviously Miami-Dade and Johnson. But the vast majority of the ones across the state are not analogous to our form of government. And so it makes sense. Anyway, it makes sense that they would be done by ordinance because they are done for the council to oversee the manager and all of the manager's people to make sure they're implementing their policies that they state. You don't have to agree.
And then I look back and I have the old language. The old language, I don't see one judge. The appointment, reappointment, term, functions, authority, power, reporting obligations, relationship to other city oversight, audit, inspector general should further established by ordinance. And I think the consensus at that time was that created an ability to rewrite to such a large degree that the extent of all of this was without objection. So can limit it. So. What I need to say is, I would not now support expanding it back to what it was before. So.
Does
I
anyone else,
hear that it's, new issue, but I didn't want to put it like that.
to those who have been voting, sorry, but those who've been voting, does anyone share Bobby's feeling that this should be? Yes, you understand, strike it or broaden it, right, or change.
Talking about I, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I was gonna get outvoted on that. It's-
just want to understand where we stand.
Even that, they're not, that's, there's not enough.
I'll put that 1, 2, 3, 4 votes and that's what I'm saying. I think that's where we're at, or maybe 5.
Even
Yeah.
I don't know where we're at.
Do you want to throw a motion out, see if it goes anywhere and then we can keep moving?
Yeah.
Okay,
I move to strike I.
Oh, shit, y'all been yelling off second all night, anybody second? Okay,
Nice.
Move to include I as drafted by Ken.
So
Second.
it's been moving from the second, all those in favor say aye.
please raise your hands.
Did it go with it? So I didn't get anybody on the first one?
Yes.
it's not been there yet.
Yeah.
Stephen, you agree,
Let's get this like.
I as written?
Yes.
We actually, you don't want it in, you don't vote for it unless somebody else votes for it, it's not in.
Well, it actually would.
Still gets the five.
It actually would be, it still would get to 5.
Yeah, it gets the five.
It's 6,
Yeah.
So I,
No, there's something in there that you don't like, so you're not.
Did you get all the, okay, let's continue.
Oh.
Down to.
Let's see what happens.
J. I think that's it. Right, J's implementation,
that was there before.
that was there before.
I move J.
Exactly.
Moving to properly seconded, all those in favor say aye.
I.
So we've got the same group here, Stephen, you favor keeping implementation as written, as was before.
Yes.
Then you gotta go back to the top.
And
That's
At
the.
least we got somewhere.
we did get
Now the hard.
maybe we grease the wheels a little bit on that.
I'm glad that we see that at the pool and the crew.
The city
Even straw hats.
Gotta run down and get his hand.
He's all that.
All here's a seat.
What do you think?
Yes.
Is he on crew?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you really?
Yes.
Yeah,
You see,
The troopers.
enjoy,
Talking about it.
you gotta put some party.
Keep it
You
going.
put their money on.
I love it. That's great.
Move A.
A as amended by Ken in the last version. I'll let you go.
Second.
Everything.
Alright,
Second.
alright, so moving properly seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Okay, same group, Stephen, yes to A.
Yes.
Okay. thank you. Just chipping away at it. All right. There have been quite a few changes that Ken made after the last
Office.
session.
Submit for the request, which includes the name, contact.
Okay. Give me out. 2 suggestions. One is to strike that it must be referred. The other, which one is it? One is that, first is that the referral clause. I think the IG should have be a watchdog, and if you're only investigating things that are referred to you. It's not really a watchdog, it's more of like a investigatory channel, that's very on the city already has.
And Bobby, you're like president is in it too. It's not like just the mayor and city council is making, or a resident.
Yes, and listen, if there's a problem, it's gonna percolate up. When I read this, kind of liked it, because I'm thinking, wasn't in there, someone's got to justify their existence and bugging around. I mean, I don't know, it's just, to me, I like the concept that the check and balance was, listen, people got problems, once they know this position's here, once they know how independent it is. People are gonna have a problem finding Inspector General. So I can tell you, I'm gonna telegraph it because I'm gonna be here at 12 o'clock tonight. It is, I like this language and I'm not gonna support eliminating, so. I'm 1 of 6. Others may feel differently, I'm just trying to help you along.
Count your votes.
And I agree, I think the resident, nobody has to say there's some, agree with you, but that keeps it open.
Why not have both? That's my point. Best of both worlds. You got everything you want.
It sounds like we're not gonna support having it. Get the power to do something about a referral. You said you have two units for your second.
Second one was, this was stricken in red. Shall have the power to subpoena, witness, administer oaths. Require the production of records. That's just standard parlance in essentially every IG position. Doesn't consistently strive. I mean verbatim from every single other IG.
Are you saying that is common to many?
Where it says, where it's stricken, shall have the power to subpoena, witness, administer oaths, and require production.
Oh, you mean the red?
That's in every IG. Language that was, I would like to have that back, it's actually, some teeth to it.
A question, Ken. The red language stricken, if it was in there. That allowed the Inspector General to subpoena citizens of the city of Tampa.
Says witnesses.
If the red language was in there.
As it was before.
Correct, that's my question.
Totally, yes.
Okay, Bobby, that was my, Ron actually brought it up. Well, I generally don't agree with him. Really, I'm just kidding, Ron, that was a joke, for God's sakes, I wanted to wake you up. You know, that did kind of resonate with me. Now, I mean, I'll talk to you about it, I'm not saying that's a hard no, but that was the bugaboo for me, is like, well, wait. They've got a real broad net they can throw here. Within the city. So that's why I kind of like that language. Can I call on someone? I see their hand up. I'd like to hear from my friend Allison, who wants to say something. Can
I think you can because you just requested it.
I? Allison, what?
It would be my opinion, especially how they have used it to be able to politicize and scare folks. Sometimes the subpoena helps people be able to come in and say the truth, because then when people come after them, you have to tell them I was subpoenaed and I had to talk. Otherwise, the way some of the folks here in Tampa, if you volunteer the information, they will put you on the list. And
You can put them on a list if they want, I just don't want to.
We don't want to, I got no money to be on the list. I need it.
I don't care about my name.
Don't want to be on the list.
some people need to make a living in here in Tampa, and y'all from here, and I'm third generation from here. And sometimes they give those of us who do not have a bank account, the ability to say, I had to say this, and I had to testify because they subpoenaed me. Rather than walking in here, people say, you wouldn't be able to afford, and so now you're on the list.
So you would include the ability to subpoena anyone? Is what I'm hearing.
If they are doing it fair for investigations, they would call them in and ask them to testify.
No, I'm asking you a question. I just want to make sure I'm following. So I'm trying to get to the language.
Yes.
So your language would be, you can subpoena anyone in the city of Tampa. I'm not arguing with you, but I just want to
Anybody
make
as it
sure.
relates to the investigation that's happening. Not just.
So one thing
If
okay,
you're saying, if you're saying it's not,
I got
they're
you.
responding to someone making a complaint and not them doing it to go after you.
Now, the one thing I did send Ken on this before I saw it, I did send it to you beforehand, is I did have a suggestion that you could subpoena a witness subject to the Florida Rules of Civil Procedure, Florida law, something like that. That is a protection, right? Because you can subpoena me, it doesn't mean I have to come and see. Right? I mean, it doesn't.
You can deny a subpoena.
Oh, but you just go to court and file it, yeah, you can object to a subpoena, you're not obligated to dance when they sit with a subpoena on you. There's all kind of ways to contest it, I mean, you gotta have a legitimate basis to contest it. You can't just decide, I wanna be clear, you can't just, I don't feel like going. You know, it's harassment, it's my private cell phone, I don't have it, you can't just, there's all kind of, rules that govern, okay, if you've got a specific issue, you wanna see my cell phone, you have to give me a search term, and what I will give you is any text message that has Ashley's name on it, and you want hers in my text, that's all you get, things like that, so. There's maybe a way to soften it a little bit.
So, my question's for you. So, on the issues, the way that it was written before, they can subpoena anyone and it's not limited. After investigation, audit, review, so they have to do an investigation, audit, review, and then they can subpoena witnesses.
Yes.
Period, like typically, like, and I'm not an expert in this, because I have done litigation, but it's been a while. Typically, you're in litigation and it has to be related to your litigation, or if like the police are getting a subpoena, they have to go to court and there's like a check and balance, and my concern with this language, and it's my concern with all the subpoena language, when we're just willy-nilly giving people subpoena power, so it's not limited to this office, is the checks and balance. What I hear you're saying is somebody has to go to court and fight it, meaning that person then has to, know how to do that or have a lawyer, and so I would prefer some limiting language. And not getting on what I'm saying, so that you're not supporting the overall thing, but.
You also have, by the way, the interesting part of this, we talked about before. Well, if you kept that language in, you give them the right to subpoena, who enforces the subpoena?
Well, that's what
I mean, what are they gonna, I got a subpoena, and they're gonna say, yes,
Speak the whole thing.
Objection.
Yeah.
If that's just in there, I
Yeah.
guess you could file an injunction. Or.
It does seem to all.
Yes, it would be. I was just wondering how
Yeah.
you could, not that I suggested that was the right way to do it.
Right, but I mean, so. Again,
Yeah.
I mean, the limiting language, you can. Subpoena all the people who have business with the city. I mean, with the same caveats that that's problematic, but whatever, they can. But they're not expanding it to witnesses, and I do understand your point that like sometimes people don't wanna appear and it's easier to say.
Oh, I agree.
I understand that, but sometimes people just have to, truth to power. I don't know what else to say to that, I personally am not comfortable with really broad subpoena power. Because typically when people have broad subpoena power, they have a built-in checks and balance, and this one doesn't.
What do you think about this? It's a good check about, what do you think?
I like the way that it's drafted because it.
So you can't subpoena here, unless you can.
You can subpoena contractors, elected officials, staff members, people who have business with the city or are the city. But you can't go out and subpoena witnesses who may not want to. Pursue it. I mean, to the point that was brought up earlier, there's somebody who's like, I don't wanna go forward, and somebody's making you go forward. Like somebody doesn't wanna play it, and nobody wants to. Maybe they don't wanna be involved with this, maybe they're like, it's done, but the inspector general is gonna force them to do it. But as the allegation was that the administration makes.
I missed that. I mean, when I say I missed it, I was focused on the next sentence, just like they have the subpoena power for everyone.
That's working,
It's working.
but they can accept witnesses.
Oh, yeah, they can accept witnesses, I don't like the idea of them, to make someone who doesn't wanna. If somebody wants to come forward and deal with the city, they can come forward and deal with the city, and it's not that I'm discounting Allison's point, because it's a very valid point, that some people don't feel comfortable unless they're forced, but at the same time, some people don't wanna come forward.
Can they be an anonymous
Well,
witness?
What's the
They can-
procedures that can?
I mean, a due process that can.
When,
Go ahead.
maybe the checks and balances, I know I don't think we have finalized the group of recommendation people. But those folks had legal background, so maybe any subpoena has to go to that recommendation group that you have enough. Like you have to have, if you go to a judge for a subpoena, you have to have reason to to subpoena that person, maybe rather than just recommending. That group also able to approve any subpoenas, maybe that'll be the power of that group that's made up of.
I don't know, if you can
George
maybe
Escobar.
have any power on this legal.
Yeah, one also here from Jared Allen and Stephen on this, because that'll tell me if we're moving down that road. Stephen, go ahead.
I support the way most of what I see in blue. I don't understand why there's a difference between subpoena for records versus subpoena to appear. But I do agree that just anybody that's not connected to the government in some way, there's no need for this to touch those individuals. Where I think the blue might be missing some people are really just a blanket, anyone doing business with or funded by the city government. I think that covers anybody else that's not currently written there in blue that would be relevant to an investigation potentially.
Contractor,
Yeah, contractors in there.
Contractors, and
Yes.
so if we expanded that a little bit, Stephen, you thinking we're better?
Just anybody doing business with or funded by the city government. And the reason why the word I don't think contractor necessarily captures everyone, because the city provides funding to numerous nonprofits and other entities that are not considered contractors necessarily. So really, it's just anybody that does business with or receives funding from the city.
I think Stephen's suggestion that we add that language to those that can be subpoenaed is appropriate, but I do agree with Rebecca. Respectfully, I would keep that, just to sit, I would keep that red lines there, subpoena witnesses, things like that. You can subpoena anyone within the umbrella doing business with the city, all of these things, that gives you a good blanket, I think there's a good protection.
Do you want to make motions to that effect to sit here?
So moving.
it's been moved and firmly seconded, all
You
those.
state the motion to include,
But to include as the expansive language that Stephen just suggested, okay? And that we otherwise keep Ken's changes as he's limited in drafting.
And the witnesses can be anonymous.
So the second, so
And it's been moved and properly seconded, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Stephen, is that a yes?
Yeah.
I think that gives us five, mine's five, so.
Keep up the witness.
Okay, so I think are we done with?
Rob, I just asked a question.
I'm sorry.
Retaliate, so Allison's point, I can see that being an issue if somebody does step forward and there's some retaliation. I would like to be able to go click a button, go talk to somebody, get on the phone with somebody, and let my name not be brought to the, I'm gonna go.
Like a hotline or something. Because there are some constitutional due process notions that were right to certain circumstances. Confront your accuser, so sometimes investigations maybe can't go forward if there's not. If the person's not willing to identify themselves, but you're talking about more as like a hotline or.
The
I
IG
can't report
process is
something.
anonymous.
Stop being.
Okay.
Just to be clear, as written right now, a person making a complaint would have to provide their name and contact information.
Right, the person that's making the complaint, yes, but a witness, somebody else that saw, whatever.
There's no requirement either way at this point in time.
Like they could, if they want to remain anonymous, it may not be, they're not going to get any credibility because of that, but they can remain anonymous.
Make the point that, I believe this is an ordinance that the ethics officer in ordinance in Tampa is the official receiver. No?
No, sorry, I should just shake my head.
So we've already proved that.
So my point is that they're gonna have to rewrite. The word, if we want an IG to receive hotline calls, we're gonna have to rewrite.
We're not suggesting that they receive hotline. That's the motion is not on the table.
Making a point, I mean, I feel like it's common sense that they would have been. maybe
You
not.
need to put the name on it, the way it's drafted, you gotta put your name on it. That's what, you know,
We said they did referrals, right, but I don't know that we dictated the method by which those referrals. Coming in.
Yes.
It's highly, it's highly unusual to have a, I'm used to having an IG, and not the recipient of the fraud hotline. It's unheard of.
Forgive me, I missed the beginning.
But you don't have that.
And an IG would not be, there's the manager, the overseer of the fraud hotline.
There's no provision in here for a broad hotline.
I'm saying.
If you want
it
to have that, we can certainly.
Let's add it. I'd be in favor of adding that. Right now, it's the ethics officer, AKA HR.
Well, the ethics officer can be changed by city council. They have it in, the ethics code is legislative. And if city council doesn't want human resources to be the head of it, they can change that closely.
It's restricted by what we can include in ordinance by the language in this chart. If we want to say that the IG is gonna respond to the fraud hotline, we're restricted from doing that. Because we would have to have something in ordinance and that's not included in, it's not permissible in the language of the charter that we have here. Like, am I reading that right?
Well, there's recommendations in here of how someone would contact any member, any resident. We scroll up to that language.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
just that
We know what you mean.
The only thing that isn't included, and what I'm understanding you saying, is an anonymous hotline.
Which we have, the city has.
it's that for
Again, it's not replacing anything the city has right now. It just, the consensus that I took from the group last time was you wanted it restricted in terms of the ability for this individual to just go after individual departments on their own.
I mean, I guess that's just part of my
It can say what
fundamental
the
issue with this.
So somebody can report via the anonymous hotline, and then that's gonna get passed to the IG or that's going to the HR.
You can go direct to the IG, go back to B real quick. So
Yeah, I think so.
that's B. It's the first sentence. So.
The office will initiate, the office
So
may
it's a written
initiate
request.
investigation, audit or review. When a matter is referred to it by the mayor, city council, or any city staff member. Or resident who submits a written request, which includes their name and contact information.
If we restrict what we can include in ordinance.
Are you suggesting we had the word verbal or written, because that would have.
Verbal, written, or anonymous, I mean, if we're restricting ourselves.
Anonymous is different, you can verbally, something like your name, in the same way you write it, is that what you're leading towards, because hotline is just a method. It would be a verbal method, right, I think.
Yeah, but it comes with certain protections which state law, I believe, right, if you're reporting fraud.
Again, you don't wanna mix and match state law provisions that deal with very specific roles, what you're creating here. If you wanna incorporate them, you can certainly do that here. Obviously, you have a much more open process than prior draft. The consensus of the group was to narrow that, and that's the language we're not right here.
Maybe help me understand this, so under the way that pardon if I missed this or anything, but the way it's written now, could the report to the IG be anonymous? If it's written with your name and contact number, it would not be. No language in here will allow anonymous complaints to an IG or charter.
I made my living off of a tip line for a couple of decades, and I can tell you that anonymous complaints are most often something you can't do anything. Because if you can't track down the specifics of the evidence that, or the issue that they're being referred to, you're nowhere. And the times that tip lines have resulted in stories that I've been able to do is when I know who I'm talking to and specifics about where and what they're alleging. So I don't know if there is a great utility for.
But nobody's gonna know because it's anonymous, like it's like a backroom situation.
Bill raised his hand.
So when we discussed last time, and I know there's a number of you in here that aren't gonna support the whole proposal, but let's focus on just this one issue. We have an inspector general, we've got really capturing reporting requirement, what's the downside of it? And, you know, yes, I understand you. What is the downside of anonymous proposal? If I get a package, says I'm scared to death, I'm not gonna tell you who I am, but I work in this department, and here's the issue, you should really, really take a look at it, but I am keeping my head on, what's the downside?
There's. This just talks about how if there's check and balance on the IG initiating something, but an anonymous person sends that package to the city council member. The city council member refers it over, the IG, the investigation,
Okay, okay, good, okay, then,
or to any
member or the public or.
city attorney or whoever.
I got you, so, okay, so in other words, okay, there are, so while the initial source may have been anonymous, in other words, if it's someone in the city takes it, delivers it over to the IG, then they go and run.
And Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the way I read that, is as long as it's referred to the IG by one of those people who discloses their name and does it in writing.
Would that be the same for the ethics department, if they send someone over, it'd be the same thing? Hey, I got this anonymous tip and I'm sending it over to the IG, this is more.
Right, I mean, any staff member can refer something in the way it's written right now.
So
Bobby,
if
that's-
they got, even if they got it in public mail, they would send it to the IG if it was a.
Yeah, they're gonna refer it over, so Bobby, I think you're gonna be covered there.
You know, like a city employee to a member of city council and be like, look, I have some problems, I can't come out there, but you take this to the inspector general, that process is still applied.
Yeah, that's fine. I think there's just some of my original differences are surfacing here where there are certain parts of this that are duplicative. If we don't give an IG more authority and power than what's here, but I'm gonna let it go. It's just a little bit unusual to me that you would have an office that investigates fraud, but the fraud hotline doesn't go to them. Just doesn't make sense. So, but we can move on.
It's really exciting, we're back here.
Right.
But at least we got
I feel about this.
We would have been stuck
So
there.
this is the last of the letters and sign this.
So
They're
the group of six,
Yes,
The subcommittee.
how do we get 5?
exactly. This is.
Alright, I'll concede. Because I'm not even gonna say one, it's gonna be.
Concede what though?
Hi.
Because I think there were two things on the table, one was the membership here. This is Jonathan's selection, right?
I would then move to change this article from inspector general to alternative reporting. Avenue or channel or something like that, that's what this is. But I'll go along with this one. Just to get it done.
So we're, what's the proposal for this? You're saying you go along with what it looks like here,
And we discussed.
as is.
We tried it earlier, we didn't have the
With the
voting.
exception of adding a ninth, which was still that everyone seemed to support.
Unless we wanna do it. Where I move 3 through 8. Plus that's and see what we get and then,
I think you
The other
have
two.
to vote, we need 6 or 5 at least, okay?
so who disagrees with 3 through?
I don't think anyone
Does anyone disagree with what you were
No,
doing?
no,
1 and 2.
It's all about 1 and 2.
So if we,
And I believe Garrett, you support removing 1 and 2.
so
I know you do.
originally it was 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
There's 5, 4 on 1 and 2, yeah.
So. If you vote 1 and remove 1 and 2, you don't get to 5, you get to 4.
What was it originally? It was 1, 2, 3.
This is person's question.
Yeah.
Once this is passed to council has the ability to change.
Whatever they want.
They're also able to
Thanks,
solicit
they're not taking it up.
Right.
feedback from the administration, the public, to craft whatever.
Like they throw in the code of
Eventually on the ballot, is that correct?
That's correct, right?
Correct, anything that council, I don't know if they want to do any of these. anything would have to go into an ordinance and have a public hearing and all that to be able to get it.
I think that being said, I could move forward as is.
Agreed with 1, 2.
With just as it's written, and I would also accommodate the Stetson.
Just give a night, that's it.
Yeah.
I agree.
I guess someone needs to
Flip the bill.
throw that forward.
Oh, okay.
Entertain a motion?
Motion being 1 through 8 is drafted and add a 9, deemed as Stetson.
Second. You said second.
Alan,
Okay, then we'll go properly, second. Any discussion? Okay. Yeah, we already did discussion.
A lot of passing.
Everybody shut up. All those in favor say aye. Alright,
I'm here, and Stephen, you guys a thumbs up, so I guess that's a yes, right, Stephen, just confirming.
all those opposed, nay. Nay. 3 nays.
We got them all approved, can't do the paper.
Well, I agree.
This is not an instructor general.
Took a little while, but actually, that's.
They're gonna try to screw this up, they are, so.
Okay. Honestly, they can do anything that this group puts forward, but at least we have it done. Okay,
They both the same, just, there you go. Okay, so 4, yes.
let's go.
I'll be Dave, yeah.
Oh, okay.
All the things for this day, and patience.
Nice of you.
Right, well. So I think that includes charter specific dialogue, discussion, votes, etc. Congratulations, and these were a result of actually public comment, is what led us down these roads and we voted on what we're talking about. I wanted to raise this question, I did talk to Ken about it, and he advocated for us to discuss as opposed to. Say what we're going to do, so. We were talking about two different things, we're mandated to do the first, which is to, submit to council. Basically, all of our suggested changes, which we throughout the last 4 or 5 months. Have agreed to and are all reflected in the source document. The reference document that Ken has been updating and sharing, so that's out there. The question is really, I asked Ken, full disclosure, I said, what's the process to get this to council, does Ken let it know? You guys all look at it, double check it looks good and is approved, and then it goes from. Ken on, does it come from the chair, so his recommendation was, let's just get the group's thoughts on the best way to package and submit. And then we'll talk about the second item, the second item, so I don't know what the protocol is here, I mean, we have the content, it's just a matter of format and process to get it. Thoughts on, I mean, could that be right now, correct? Sure. With all the
It's really-
speed and, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's really, how do you want this to be memorialized? Do you want this to come from the group, via the chair, the whole group? Do you want this to come from me? How do you want this packaged that gets then turned over?
You could turn it over, but it should come from this committee, if not. I mean.
That's
I mean, we did it in Florida, our recommendations came from us, they didn't come from, we're quick.
Does that go to the chair or to all city council?
That goes to city
The whole
council.
city council, yeah.
The whole thing will go to all the world's members. Yeah. Just how, there was some dispute the past meetings over what the final document looked like.
Look like.
So that's what I'm looking for, guidance as to what.
What it looks like, I thought you were asking who delivered it.
I don't know.
Like a
It's
presentation.
what does this look like?
I think it should be in the form of a red line of the charter. Or I could be talked into how, I don't think we're in a position to draft ballot language, right, that's up to council and city attorney and stuff like that. But I think the most straightforward approach is a red line of the charter, shows with a very simple 2 or 3 sentence coverage from the chair. If we want us all to keep on it, that's fine too, it just says.
We should memorialize this, like, how many meetings we had, I mean, there should be some, because we came into this and there's nobody here, so. Not to get anything else, but just some facts, so the next people that come in can say, okay, cause I remember our first meeting. Ron said, oh, you guys are gonna be, we'll be done in May, we do this, well, it's now August, so, and it's not to say, it's just to say. Bring in experts, I mean, some of the things that we learned in terms of it for the next group that comes. I would say it was an honor to do this, you know, we all learned a lot about the city, I
We
mean,
had it, you know, who came in and spoke to us?
yeah, I mean.
So we do have.
So feel like you can, you know, I would say to the next people, I mean, it doesn't have to be, again, I'm talking about a paragraph.
I say, right.
You know, just like bring in experts, get your facts, you know, we met this many times, we, you know. And so like feel like you can get additional resources beyond just who's in the room. Because I think we sort of were tentative about that at first, and then we were like, okay. When Ron said, okay, well, you can get these people, we're like, oh, okay, bring in experts, so I think some of that stuff is like just a summary, and then to thank them for the honor. I mean, and have all our names on the transmittal, and then have the red line.
Right, when we discussed this last time, I proposed this broader concept in mind with what you're saying, Kathleen. I think with the group's direction, maybe that. Let's do just what you said, just cite the facts, because you also discussed concepts like suggestions for the future. The primary one that was raised is this notion of, so we could either word it as a challenge or suggestions, but it was really around the way questions were brought to us. Really just for consideration.
No more flesh,
Right, so my point though is. I think the group said, yeah, we don't want to criticize anything that came to us in method recommendations. We could decide, but I have not included here. To add just suggestions that are the flip side of that, we might say solicit input in a structured way. From these parties, I think that may be valuable, but in any case, I put forward very draft. The kinds of topics I think would be of value. I did in concept run it by the chair only because he's been my point of contact and there's work to do here, and he advocated it on its face. We haven't really gotten into detail.
No.
So this would be some of the things we could talk about: background appointees, key dates, logistics around how we met, where we met, the technology, room preparation, even parking. I mean, a lot of these things presumably will help the next group and the next group's facilitator and attorney. Meeting management, public comment. The good news is we can do this in a way that is either all documented or linked to sources that we all have access to, so we have a solution. So I guess, but when we talked about that, I think Ron, you made the point, you know, what are we bound to do? And that's to really cover the charter recommended changes. So we can either batch it all together, we can keep it extremely simple, or we can kind of do a hybrid where we have kind of an introductory page summarizing the key points, the charter changes, red line, and then maybe this is a separate deliverable that gets.
Be an appendix, you know.
Yeah, it could be an appendix.
Of the
I'll
detail.
follow the group's lead, but we just need to know so that we capture it
I mean,
all.
we didn't have anything started, it was like, nobody had any record of anything in terms of their process, and. I don't know.
Just throughout.
Yeah, have a concept,
Stephen's name.
so perhaps it's a summary on the front end expressing. Again, a summary of our process and what we went through beyond the penalties, all of the rest of it, but professionally.
Details are not.
Right, and then we can say, you know. See X, Y, Z around the details that can get to the issues you care about, but then. The next is really the charter changes. Do
Yeah.
you want to proceed on some, you have to see it, I think we have time to do this for you to see it.
Yeah.
But if that works for everyone, that probably is a good balance. David, sorry, go ahead, I apologize, go ahead.
Stay away from justifying what we did. I said that before.
Yeah.
And I have opinions on what worked and what didn't.
I agree.
We may not all agree on all of that stuff, so what we're agreeing on. If we're gonna do this, I would suggest we show the vote too. I don't, if you wanna show who voted, but I just mean like this past 4-6 or this past 3-2. That to me is more important than where we parked or back, so.
Yeah, we could do that, I mean, when we look at this one we did today, that's like the little pieces. So I just don't, we just have to think about how that looks and flows, because it wasn't always clean, like we'd have to like today, we broke this into 70 parts, so it just depends, but we have a record of that on our minutes for sure as well. But we can tweet after you see a product and we can work for the group and what go on.
Stephen?
David, Ben, sorry, but I should have spoken, and we didn't let you, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of the things that we would like to convey are already captured in the meeting minutes. And so I really strongly advocate for us including all of the meeting minutes. We didn't have that many meetings and the minutes were not that long for each meeting. I think we should include every set in our report. And if there's a question about a vote or a specific topic, they can refer to the agenda where that topic was discussed and review the minutes. But I think as we've already all approved the minutes, I think, again, if we just focus on that, since all of those documents have already been voted on by this body, we shouldn't need to reinvent the wheel by creating new, narrative that describes what happened. We've already done a lot of that. Again, I like the outline here, but I just don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't have enough time for that.
Thank you, Stephen, when we have all of these pieces, is it our belief we should have a healthy appendix attached to the summary? Or that they fly separately, or your thoughts, keep it all bundled together? Yeah, okay,
It'll get lost.
either way, it's good.
In 10 years or 8 years.
Yeah.
Everybody will be like, no, it doesn't find, we have that.
Work on that basis. And then,
Is this related just to the regular reporting of this group, or is this council asking us if we can answer those questions or not? This has nothing to do with
No,
that.
I mean,
So this is just a regular.
and remember, those questions came to us in naming that number for consideration, so it was just kind of prompters for us. We did the property stuff, like we covered them, so, okay. We have records to that effect in various forms. Yes.
I have a very specific process question. Is the clerk gonna keep copies of what was handed out today? Because I don't wanna have to. Yeah, paper copies. Okay, I don't wanna destroy it if I like to keep it.
But you can always give it to me if you want to.
In terms of, so we have some direction, thank you for that, of us, in terms of the means by which this group provides their feedback. It is, I guess the question is, do we need to reconvene in person for that process? It can't be done, I think you did that before. So what that would look like then.
What?
And I don't think we can go virtually either.
Last time.
Right, you're a typical sunshine group, you don't have the ability beyond that.
So that were,
If you all agree to it, then we don't have to have a meeting, but the odds of that, I think, are slim.
I think we would, I would agree, but who knows, I mean. We've been.
We really have to have, like, we really have to have a written thing and then something for 3 hours debating what that is, or can we just not turn over our work product? It's already voted, I think, on the work product. And it's up to you guys, we think it's really important to have something that talks about all that, they come in here and debate it for a long time.
Can we pre-approve it?
Yes,
I would think we'd be debating that much, in other words, we've got to see. If we talked about it is the final product, right, the final product is what you pointed out, and that is the red line charter. And we all agreed that we wanted to see it that one last time and vote on it. So-
And that's not- I'm not talking about this. I think what we're talking about is getting together to see the memo.
What it would look like is.
I just asked, I would presume that the red line, we've already seen. Every red line that's gonna be in the report, we've already voted on, so it's possible to typo or something. That can't correct 70 cents, but I don't talk or debate that. I think what we're talking about is reviewing a memo.
Right, if you want to have a memo that we've been talking about here today, and want to approve it. Then you're gonna have to have a meeting, if you wanna delegate that to Rob. Us, working on it, we can do that. It's just you as a group can only act via your meeting, we can't have comments from one of you and then another comment from another group member, that's where you run into sunshine law. So, and that's why we're looking for direction as to where you wanted to go with this report.
My personal take is, as long as it has that strikeout language that you said, that's the substance of it, that's the part that we're here for, all the dressing. I personally trust you to do, I would feel the need to come back just to sit for 10 minutes and flip through and say that we love it, you know.
We follow your lead on this.
My thing, I don't think
You're advocating for having a memo that covers those things, but just us not reviewing it, but it coming to us.
Yeah, I mean, if we have all the language and.
Trust Ken, Rob.
Well, no,
It's, I mean, I'm fine if you can, you're a consultant, you were hired by city council, you could write a memo to them. And we all can, I mean, we all have the right to communicate with council with their own independent thoughts on it, but. If it's gonna come from the group, I think we gotta review it, and unless it's loosely attached.
I certainly wouldn't want us to be 99% sure it's spot on and then someone spots something they didn't like, that would be a problem. And it would be an unfortunate end to a lot of hard work. Now, were we to reconvene, it would only be background of changes, it certainly would come back again to make sure they were done, but it would also probably, I say probably, hopefully be a brief meeting, like an hour.
What part of this would be up for debate? I mean, this is all factual things that can be compiled without input. I don't know.
Yeah, it would be style, it would be style and opinions on detail and what you know, that sort of thing. Anything.
And maybe, yes, because I don't know the bullet points, but. It depends on how it's memorialized.
Is the point that any memo that is produced, if we wanted to come from us, we have to be in this room to approve that. So would it be possible for the memo to be distributed for us to digest it? We need for, you know, a short period, whatever it takes, just to be able to sign off on that.
I think we're balancing some of the things can be avoided.
I mean, we had very few edits with Ken's sort of summary that he presented on that topic of conversation the last two meetings, and so I think these guys have a good sense of the verbiage around with which we, you know, work within. I don't know,
I would use Ken as anything I drafted out on my hand.
yeah.
Because I value his input and even though we've all been in the same rooms, we want to make sure we get it right.
I mean, just from a matter of course, it's not really good form to put your name on something that you haven't seen.
Totally.
So we either have a compromise or we don't have a compromise, and frankly, I think at the very least. I would be comfortable having them send a memo, I also think it's bad form for us not to have the memo that Kathleen is kind of like talk about, which at least a paragraph, but then we're meeting anyway. Yeah. So,
The
and I promise not
the clerk had a very good point that your minutes from today are going to be complex and we would want you to review and approve as well.
that's a good point, so there you
Because
go.
I wanna get the votes correct, and if I made a mistake, I want you guys to be able to correct that and let me know.
You don't make.
Which means that they heard.
Well, and
Except for on.
yes.
That's just, I gave you actually.
We got it.
So super school.
So in are we all agreeing to one more short meeting? But it's gonna be-
Like, coming today, there's no way of getting out of another meeting, because this would have had been drafted up anyway.
Yeah, we need to approve the minutes.
I guess the question then is, it's, you know, it's a question for me as much as. But if we do our current cadence, that would give us. That would give us 2 weeks or even less if we send it to you in advance, which is fun to do. I think so, the first, or the first, yeah, the second Tuesday in September would be the first time you meet in September, which, how does that balance up against?
It's the day after Labor Day.
Oof.
The 8th, and I have a trip that I've had for a long time.
I will be.
The other out is that.
He's going out.
We can also pick another date.
Why not August 25th in 2 weeks before?
Well, then, it's just a different time.
Oh, okay.
When's Labor Day?
So.
What about September 1st?
I'm cool with that.
That's cool.
Gives them, let's like.
That would be the one, I think.
That's gonna be amazing
Yeah,
today.
that gives 3 weeks, we should.
I think that would work for me. Make that work. Is that okay with you? Yeah, I'll send out one meeting.
Put it on my calendar. Put it on my calendar right now.
Does anyone have besides the normal objections to the first being when we next convene. Because I don't believe the next date works, it's just too many people will be away.
Yeah.
Somebody, any objections? You said? Steven, looks like we're shooting for the first FYI.
Ron said you.
Go back to the pool with the margaritas.
Bring us. Yeah, I know.
I will not be able to attend on the first, so
Steven, you're good with the first?
I will not be able to attend. I have a conflict during that time.
Steven, I don't think about the first, but it may be difficult to find, we want to try to find another date.
Well, it's too.
I'm not so long to that, make it work, what else?
It's flexible, I'm from Summerford.
We're gonna make it, we can, I can make almost,
It doesn't have to be Tuesday at 6.
it doesn't.
I mean, technically, I think there's an ordinance that says we gotta meet Tuesday at 6, but. Anyway, well, can't.
Oh, I don't, no, I don't think so, I think we picked our own.
We just take our.
No, that's it. Was prescribed, the schedule. was prescribed.
All I know was when someone asked me, I said the second and fourth Tuesdays, and then we did it, I don't
Can see it's in such file.
I don't remember.
It's Witchburg, but it's not, I don't know.
I don't remember the dates. I was trying to think of something that was easy for the group to remember, that was losing. Yeah, I could do Monday or probably Thursday, that would.
I can't do Monday. That would be the 31st, right?
Thursday would be the third. Be Thursday.
Me too.
Can you do the Thursday, Stephen? That
I'm in New York. She's in New York, she's in New York.
virtual participation on the table or not for that?
I'll be on a plane coming back.
So we can do Stephanie, we move to Thursday, we can use Stephen if we have it on Tuesday.
About Wednesday.
I
can't do Wednesday.
Yeah, I prefer not to. Other than that.
What about the week after? Which hour looking at the rest of the Tuesday?
So you're saying
The day after Labor Day.
yeah, that's why we're trying to do this month before. I know, I could go later than I could just, we just use the time. So.
Not the 19th.
So right now, it sounds like the first is still the leading contender.
Not the 4th? Right.
But
You said, I'm sorry, I said on some point, it's actually really matter. Short.
It's fun,
Well,
Friday.
it's supposed to be a short meeting, that means y'all gonna get out of here. That's it. Yeah.
We could meet at the bar.
Yeah,
So.
let's all look at it.
Sounds like, yeah.
Ken, it's
I can do
Stephen. Could he allow for, if the group is still meeting, could he still provide feedback that someone else in the group could advocate for? If he couldn't attend on that
He
day?
can provide written feedback to the entire group.
Yeah, and then that way, you guys will,
If no one responds to his feedback.
right, or he can send it to me and I can send it to the group.
Exactly, that would be the best way.
So we can collect Stephen's feedback if he can't attend on the first, so it sounds like it's gonna preclude, wouldn't want to exclude his input.
Can't hear the video.
No, he can't make the first,
Oh, okay.
but he can respond, he can give me the feedback and I can forward to all of you. And you can opt to incorporate that into whatever feedback you have or advocate for it. Not ideal, obviously, we want Steve here, but we lose Kathleen and we move to Thursday. So it sounds like we're.
What about the 4th?
Right, so
That's a Friday, I don't think we want to do the Friday.
Hang on, okay.
No.
That's
right.
You're like, I will understand.
That's right, I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it will be the first at 6, we're gonna shoot for doing this within an hour, we will have materials to you in advance. Precisely when we'll know sooner, but try to keep you posted on that, we will put an invite. Out to you, so it's in calendars through your tablet, you might need to forward it to your personal if you use other calendars. But we'll work on that basis.
And we'll make sure where it is when that escapes.
Yeah, we check.
First.
Presumption is us here. Obviously, room is less important for that meeting than the other, because we're really just collecting thoughts and making some tweaks, hopefully. Right. So I think we're good with that. Any other business before we allow our chair to be honest to,
Got out before, no one.
do you wanna do, you can do a photo? Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. Do I need to adjourn?
New business.
I think so, I think we can adjourn and then first.
Motion to adjourn. Okay. Good move. Already second. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Folks say nay. Nay is fine. It's, thank y'all so much for y'all time. This meeting has been adjourned at 8:38 P.M.
Oh, we can have it like
9 p.m.
It's by heart.
They always say that you all.
That year on campus. The second that you.
Go to the stairs. You come from the stairs.
On the stairs.
Better tell organized me.
Oh, you come upstairs.
That's city property.
What do you think, Bobby?
The name card.
Awesome, take mine, you can tonight.
I guess you need it for one more meeting, I don't know.
Meeting.